The Brutally Speaking podcast is proudly sponsored by Starving Artist Brewing. Starving Artist Brewing may be a small speck on Michigan's beer map, but they say big things come in small packages. A brewery who really puts their money where their mouth is, supporting underground artists far and wide. Making delicious beers with the simple belief that you should judge beer, not people.
Brutally Speaking podcast is proudly sponsored by Rockabilia.com. With over 500,000 officially licensed items in their online store, you're guaranteed to find something you need. Use our code BRUTALLY and get 10% off your total purchase order. Now on to the show.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing. This rings true because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard. And you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, and if you're not having fun doing it, you're gonna give up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Brutally Speaking podcast. I am your host, John, and this episode's guest is Drew Slavik of See You Next Tuesday. The countdown to Distractions is 2 days away. That's right. Distractions comes out this Friday, February 17th. Very much looking forward to everyone getting to finally hear this record. I've been enjoying it the last few days myself, and I'm very much like the band, very much looking forward to seeing the reaction of this album to the fans once everyone gets it. This was kind of a fun chat, though. Like, right out the gate, you're going to hear Drew and I just kind of commiserating over mutual, hard times getting our gear to work with things. And as I will fully explain as soon as this episode starts, you'll hear about the clusterfuck of a week I had leading up to this past Monday of getting 3 podcasts done, trying to hurry up and get the intro outros done for the episode I actually dropped this last week. When all of your shit just goes down and you can't figure out what it is, there's nothing more fucking frustrating because you will go piece by piece and things work or they don't work, and more to the point, they don't fucking work. And when you try to troubleshoot your own shit by Googling it and just trying to find forums or whatever to make things work, and they don't, it's just so fucking frustrating when you can't get something to work that has been working for you for years. Literally doing this podcast, I will be the first to admit I am not the most technologically savvy person. Most everything that I have learned how to do, it's very rudiment and it's practice. You just plug and play basically with almost everything that I've done. I have everything down to presets, defaults, all that kind of stuff. So everything is as streamlined as I can possibly make it, and also to make it as easy on me to create a show week in and week out as fast as possible. And it just created this whole thing where, when realizing that everything was fucking crashing down on me basically, and I couldn't figure out what it was, that I felt so fucking defeated. And I really do want to take a moment to thank a lot of my friends for being there and offering advice. I reached out to so many people who are way smarter than me, and Drew would have been one of them if I would have known that he is this just in the weeds about production and audio gear and all that kind of stuff. I probably would have reached out to him immediately, but it just became this thing where I couldn't figure anything out, and the only solution I really even had was just to be like, you know what, I'm going to go buy a new interface, and hopefully that solves the problem. But I mean, it had me going from, I guess I need to buy a new interface, I guess I need to buy a new cable, I might need to buy a new computer, anything from a $20 fix to almost $1,000. That's the most bullshit in between thing I've ever fucking heard of to fix a problem. It's if you went and took a car in somewhere and they're like, it could cost $21 to fix that, or it could cost $1,000, you'd probably be like, don't you know anything better than that? Can't you give it a little bit more of a parameter that is easily it's down to these things? What the fuck? And man, it was super stressful. But all that said, it was really fun because Drew was having some issues getting his stuff to connect to StreamYard, which is what I use to do the podcast with over the internet. And it was just it was almost fitting and serendipitous that he was having connection issues. I was able to like help him through that stuff. And then we just were able to kind of start right away bonding over just how equipment sucks sometimes. And you just feel helpless when it goes down because I guess just inevitably that's just the nature of things. And as easy as we try to make things in our life and as easy as the tools we have are to make our jobs easier, sometimes when they don't work, it feels like the whole world is against you and nothing will ever work. And the more dumbfounding thing was just the fact that I woke up the next day, or days later, I should say, honestly, turned on my computer and magically just shit fucking worked. It was just like, well, I don't know what I did, but here we are, and thank God, because I had way too much shit I needed to do, and I didn't really have many backup options to make it work. But I just want to thank everybody, for taking the time, and just, wow, what a week. What a stressful week it's been. I also quit my old job. I have a new one I'm starting in about a week. I took the week off to do a lot of podcast stuff, mainly this project of talking to everybody and see you next Tuesday in anticipation of the release of Distractions, which is coming out again this Friday. So without further ado, let's get into my conversation with Drew. Let's talk about some pizza, and I'll talk to you all on the other side of it.
And then when I'm in the room, I have to go back into settings and change my interface.
So, and by the way, I hit record just so you're aware.
All right, yay.
Because all this is really just a conversation. So let me tell you about the last 4 fucking days for me.
Okay.
So I was going to work on, I had done a podcast with Fox. And other than just having some internet issues, which I mean, whatever, we're on the fucking internet. And if anyone wants to complain that there's connection issues, who gives a shit? But the next day I went to do a podcast, a new podcast I'm doing with some other people. And they're like, your audio is really fucking wonky. You sound like Max Headroom. And so then I started going through because I have all everything is on a default, basically. I'm not very technologically smart with a lot of this shit.
Right.
So as plug and play as I possibly can be, that's what I do.
We got an SM7B though, so we both know at least that's the right microphone to use.
Absolutely. Now someone will probably look at the back of my settings and be like, oh, if you were to do this, it'd sound way better. And I'm like, whatever, it sounds fine here for what I do.
This is where mine was last.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I have the bass roll off engaged.
But what's funny to me is I'm panicking because I'm why the fuck does my shit just not work or whatever? So then I take it off and I'm using my wireless headphones, my Beats headphones, and they're like, oh, you sound so much better. And I know that's going to be a lie. I know when I go back and listen to the audio, I'm I fucking hate this audio. That's why I don't like not having equipment. And so then I was like, all right, whatever. And then I went to go do the intro outro for the episode that was supposed to drop, yesterday initially.
Right.
And I start recording, and what a wave file looks like. The wave file was square shaped, and I'm like, what the fuck?
It's
and then and then so I click on it, and it's just it sounds like dial-up internet. Not even that. It's beep whoop,
oh, weird.
That's
super weird. Yeah.
So then I'm okay, and in my head I'm all right, what the fuck caused this? So then I'm looking at all my connections, I'm looking at everything and it's fine. And I'm okay, trying to figure this out. And then there is nothing more frustrating than trying to Google what's wrong with my stuff. Because then it will do sort of what you were saying is how to take out hissing and background noise. I'm no, that's not what this is. So fast forward, I move to my laptop and then just try to see is it my computer or isolate what is the problem. Same fucking thing happens on my laptop. So I'm okay, is it my interface? What the fuck's going on with that? And then I hit up a friend who has the exact same interface. And he was hey, it sounds like your and I'm terrible with like terms and shit too. So, but like something to the effect of like the processor or the chip that's in the interface that converts it from this to digital, like that maybe just shot out and like is done. So
that's odd. Yeah.
So then he goes, here, I'll give you mine. And if it works, like just keep it. I don't need it anymore. Went through 2 fucking interfaces. They didn't work. So then immediately went to Guitar Center and bought the Scarlett 212.
Just the bare bones.
Pretty much, yeah. Because I was like, oh, I mean, I'll at least need 2 tracks for if I do many in persons and whatever. I'll figure it out from there. So get it home, plug it in, still doesn't fucking work. And now I'm like, yo, what the fuck? I've tried like 4 different microphones. I bought a new cable, like different cables I already have, like just nothing is fucking working. And mind you, like today I knew I had like the chat with you, the one with Rick, and then at 2 hours before the one with Rick, I had Vinny from Naughty by Nature on. And so I'm like,
nice.
man, I have shit I need to do. Like I need this shit to work. And then I even go on here just trying to see like, okay, fuck it. I'll work on the podcast from here. I'll extract the audio files and it'll be a workaround. Didn't even work on this thing. So I'm like, fuck, okay. So then I download Audacity and try to figure how to use that and see if like everything works. I get it to work like once and then it just keeps saying that there's a connection issue. So I'm like, shit, maybe my like sound drive is just fucked. So then I don't have time to figure this out really because I work like basically 10-hour days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Oh. So then I was like, all right. So I woke up Sunday morning before work, plugged in my old shit for a second, and everything magically worked. Like nothing was wrong.
Just like that.
Yep, just like that. And I was like, what the fuck?
Between that time, did your computer completely shut down?
I shut it down myself. But like I have everything, and this is the only thing because I was like, okay, I guess maybe Windows it restarted. I use Mac stuff. Yeah.
Well, I do know that most computers, when you go to a hard shutdown, not like a sleep mode, but like a completely shut down to where you got to push the button to get it to start back up. When it does that reboot, it checks for like missing drivers or changed settings and reverts you back to your saved settings. So you might have just hard shut it down, pulled it back up, and all your shit was back in the right fucking settings.
Yeah, I don't know. So now the interesting thing is now that I'm pretty much done with everything, I'm like, I guess I don't need this like Focusrite thing now, and I can go get my $200 back.
The Focusrite, you'd talk, and then like 10 seconds later, you'd see it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay I've noticed.
Yeah, that's a pretty, I mean, it's a bare bones interface. You know, there's nothing good there. To warn you here, am a nerd and know a lot of shit about, not trying to brag, but like, just that stuff is my interest. You know what I mean? Like interfaces and recording and that stuff. It's always been a pet peeve. So it was one of those things where, you know, I'd sit on the shitter with a Sound on Sound magazine. So you're talking to the guy.
Well, like what's funny to me is like everyone is like, oh, Focusrite. And the guy that like had told me, and it's funny because like, and you'll either laugh at this person or whatever, and I'm used to it at this point, but you know, he was like, don't fucking get that. Like for like less money and an equally decent product. He's like, just get the Behringer. Like you can get a 4-channel input interface. It's super easy. Yeah. And like, you know, they make pretty reliable things. And he goes, a lot of people just hate the fucking company because they're gatekeepers and they're like, oh, well, they shouldn't be able to make like
they make everything.
Yeah, but it's like they're like they shouldn't be able to make like a 90s style tube screamer because I have one and it's worth blank amount of money, not $40. And it's like I've never really understood that as a whole. The concept of like
I know the explanation if you're curious.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so Behringer is a company that doesn't fucking make their own shit. Yeah. They wait for like patents and stuff to wear out. You know, so like they bring out an exact replica of a tube screamer because that patent is available. Everybody makes a fucking tube screamer, but they make them in such large quantities they can be dirt fucking cheap. You got a Behringer tube screamer, don't you? Hell fucking yeah. And dude, it probably sounds exactly like an Ibanez. You know, I mean, it might be different compared to like, I mean, don't get me wrong. The tube screamer on my board is a JRC chip because I'm a fucking nerd, even though you can watch JHS videos and he's like, the chip doesn't matter. And it's like, well, you know.
Well,
And more of my point was like up until literally like a week ago, I had a completely different head sitting there because I was told to invest because of the pickups I bought and the guitar literally behind me.
Yeah.
That it was a thing where, oh, you're not going to notice the subtleties of these pickups if you use like a digital amp. You should use a tube amp. So I went out and got the 5153 with the EL34s in it.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it was good, and I enjoyed having it. I kind of needed some money for some stuff, so I was just like, I have this. Like, I literally bought this off of a band person for like $50, and it's the I mean, make fun of me all you
Spider.
want, but
It's a Line 6 Spider.
yeah, but I mean,
I told you, dude, I'm a gear nerd.
Yeah.
This is real.
So it's one of those things to me where I was just like, for literally doing this is all you'll probably ever see me play it in, which is nobody and in my fucking room.
Yeah, dude,
it doesn't need to
matter.
be. No. And then when I finally started getting into more of like that and needing to get like pedals, like I don't really know like what's like, I know based on, I know people play these, but I was like, I don't want to spend $200 on a pedal and find out it's not something I really want or need. And so I went Behringer.
Yeah, here's the thing is when you get to a level where you need better stuff, you'll inherently just go buy it. Like if you question whether or not $200 is too much money, it's because that's the level that you're at. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing. Like you just admitted that this is you play in your bedroom. Like don't spend $200 on shit. That's stupid. Go buy fucking t-shirts and stuff from bands. Like that's way better to invest your money in. But like, I'm going to go play out in front of people. So I need to be excruciatingly loud. Yeah. So, I spend way too much money on my gear. But that's my problem.
Well, and I think the other thing too is, and a lot of people go big and just right out the gate. Like I want the best of everything. And I don't feel like people live or exist in the beginning intermediate phase of anything anymore. Like
I've been there though, man. I've been there, where you just like, you have money. I used to, I'll admit something. So I used to work at a Guitar Center. I actually ran one for almost 7 years. Right. And like we had customers that came in and it's like, oh, I'm here to buy my first guitar. I'm 45. I just got divorced. And it's like, well, I'm going to put really nice stuff in your hands because you got nothing to fucking lose. You know what I mean? Like, might as well just spend $4,000 on your first guitar. But you know what? You know how much my first guitar was? It was $180.
Yep.
And it was an Ibanez AX fucking 100. And it was translucent amber. And the first song I learned to play on it was Beautiful People by Marilyn Manson.
I mean, everyone has their journey. Like I still have my first guitar. I've gotten rid of a handful and different other pieces of equipment.
That one's super broken.
But I mean, you still have it. It still has a sense of nostalgia to you.
No, I don't. I actually don't. No,
you don't.
It was destroyed. No, I was punk rock for a while and used to destroy stuff. So.
Well, I mean, when you work at a Guitar Center, you can get stuff probably a lot faster.
Well, yeah. Different eras of my life, though. But yeah. No, actually, I worked at Guitar Center after See You Next Tuesday went on hiatus. So that was in my early 30s when I did that. My first guitar was way earlier in my life. I didn't even know it. The Guitar Center didn't exist when I got my first guitar, dude. I'm 40 in a month. So.
Well, I'm 39 this year, so I'm not too far behind you.
Hey, all right, man. Oh, no, 4-0.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta like, I don't know. It's funny because like I was really looking forward to doing each chat with all of you because it's like, cool. I know you and I have like chatted a few times in passing at shows and so forth. And then obviously I've known Fox a lot longer, more personally out of the group. Rick sort of the same thing.
I'm a bit shyer of a person. So a lot of people had short conversations with me. Not to be rude. I'm not much of a talker.
Well, I mean, I guess that's sort of what, I don't know. Like, I mean, I've always joked. It's funny that Fox is a really soft-spoken person, and most of the people, when you get into these more extreme versions of like music or metal, most of them are kind of more reserved into themselves, and then they play music that is 100% like a 180 from who they are.
Yeah, I think it's just like the ADD on us or something. I don't know, man. I'm not trying to label it or anything, but like. A lot of the times I don't feel like I talk because I'm the person that sits there in the corner and thinks too much.
I mean,
if that makes sense, you know what I mean?
No, 100% it does. I mean, I was just telling Rick actually in our chat, like, working at the bar, working door, most of the time, that's all I did was just watch people, because it's like, if I were to try to engage night in and night out, like my voice is shot, and it's like, I don't want to, but to literally watch people like that is just so interesting, to just like see things way before they start happening, or just listening to people's conversations. Like, I think one of my favorites was sitting literally directly across from a group of girls that were like college aged, and they were like, oh, we're all going to move in together, and how excited they were, and all these things they were going to do, and all these things. And I just, in my head, I just kind of started laughing. And then one of them said something, like kind of made a comment to me, and they're like, oh, what's so funny? And I go, I just love the young optimism you all have. Like, I have been there with so many of my friends, like, oh, it's going to be so rad, we're going to do all these things. I go, out of the people I moved in with, you know how many I'm still friends with and talk to today? 2. And I was like, so this ain't going, probably will not last, especially once you realize she's really fucking like dirty to live with. This person will invite her boyfriend over all the time, and he'll eat all your shit, and then you're gonna get mad. Like, that's just how
this
life
one never
is.
pays rent on time because she can't keep her shit together.
Yep.
Oh yeah, dude.
Someone's gonna move out early.
Oh yeah, man. I got 2 daughters. One's 14 and one's 20, so they're fucking all over the place.
How? I guess I did not know that about you. So I guess
they're step kids, so I didn't have them during the band.
Okay.
I just had them for so long. I've been married now for 7 years, so
we just celebrated our 7. So congrats.
Or with her for 7, but married, I don't know, man. Don't ask me those.
Yeah, I mean, you should know that. That'll get you in some trouble.
No, she doesn't care. She's just, as long as I still love her, that's all that matters to her. She's pretty laid back.
I mean, that's sort of the I always feel like the best marriages and the best relationships are ones that seemingly shouldn't necessarily work, because you're just kind of opposites. Like, whereas I'm really patient, my wife is not, and there's just a lot of other things about us that
it's
I
weird
because we balance and complement each other very well.
I know what you mean, but then you also have like those certain things that, like, if you didn't see eye to eye on, it would be fucking over with. You know what I mean? Like eating cheese. Like, you ever try to date somebody that doesn't eat cheese? Pizza is fucking just off the table.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
my wife actually battles with like a dairy allergy. Like, she's not supposed to have cheese, and like every once in a while she'll like pop a lactate, and like we'll fucking order Hungry Howie's.
Pizza is a huge part of our relationship too. When we got married in Vegas, and as soon as we ended up leaving, we went to like a Rebel Pie, not a Rebel Pie, but it is a place I like going. But just like a pizza place where you go and get like a little personal pizzas. And then I like took a photo of us with our hands over our pizzas, and I was like, in crust we trust.
Nice. I love pizza. That was like a big thing when we toured. Especially when I went overseas, is I had to eat just pepperoni pizza, and that was my one thing. It's not that I only liked pepperoni pizza, but it had to be, that's my baseline. So when I was trying new pizza, I wanted to compare them all. So I got plain pepperoni pizza from like every city that we went to. It was pretty awesome. I tried to keep track of it. There's a couple of really good ones. I remember one of my favorites that always sticks to me, which has the best name too, is called Pizza My Heart, out in San Jose.
Okay.
The arsonist dudes are the ones that introduced me to that. They served you these slices that were like this. Like,
hold on. You just did that, and I have this photo that because I just love this dude. I call it basically this dude's just like sucking the dick off this pizza.
Oh my!
Let me find this photo.
I just watched the Guar documentary last night, so I know all about.
Still need to watch that.
It was crazy. My wife was like, "Oh my god, they're from Richmond. I'm from Virginia," and I'm like, "Yes, you are."
I mean, that is an observation.
I know. No, she was almost excited about Guar for like a minute, and then she fell asleep. But here's the thing: is my wife loves sleep, so it has to be pretty great for her to stay awake.
Actually, I'm gonna send this to myself and then put it in the thing.
Okay, there we go. I was gonna say, when you held it up, it didn't look like anything.
Yeah.
Blue.
Yeah, that's the sort of downfall of doing things like where you're like, oh, I can use my phone. Wait, no, I can't. But then you're like, wait, I can airdrop something to myself. That
technology.
works.
Technology.
I hope you find this as amusing as I feel like it is to me.
because this makes for great content for an audio thing.
Oh, here we go. That's fancy. Oh my. No, wait, dude. Google the band, or just go to their Spotify or whatever. Last Days of Humanity, and their record that came out in 2021, the decomposition of compositions or something like that. Look at the cover of that. It's the same fucking thing, but theirs is just the horror movie version. You gotta put it up on the screen. Put it up next to this.
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to get a bigger photo if I can.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. So then
this record is really good for anybody that hasn't listened or likes gore grind. At least can. I show this to some people that are like, yeah, I like grindcore, and I'm like, okay, let's. It's not everybody's thing, and I get that, and that's fine. But I love it. It does it for me. Here we go. God damn it! Look at that. I put the pizza guy up right next to it.
I don't know if I can do both, unfortunately, but I totally see it.
You get the idea. Man, we just started a band. Are we going to start a pizza gore grind band? And that's
it's just you. It's just the vocals are technically when you eat a really hot slice and you're just
or the burps from the Mountain Dew that you drink to get it down, because you can do some gore grind shit with.
I'm more of a fan, I think, of just because we're more of a like literally my wife just lives off of Diet Coke. Right. So a lot of times, like if we get a 2-liter, it'll be like hey, let's get like a cherry Pepsi or like a mug root beer.
Ooh, yeah.
Something a little different, a little saucy.
I'm more of a Barks kind of guy because it's got.
Dude, Barks is one of my favorite. Like I used to work at A&W. Everyone used to when they'd come up to me at A&W like, oh, this must be the best job. You just get all the free root beer, and I was like, this root beer sucks. Like I don't like creamy root beer.
No, I think it's pretty good. Barks is one of my favorite though.
Barks is solid. I think
it's got the I want to not spicy, but like like it's got that carbonation to it that bites you, just like the fucking slogan.
Yeah, I mean, it's the truth in advertising.
I know, right? That's the way to be.
Absolutely. We were Rick and I were joking at the end of our chat because we were talking about heartburn and pizza and all the spicy foods and such.
Oh, that's weird.
And he was making the comment about how he just will go for it. He's like, oh, I just don't care. Like one life to live, get it. And I was like, no, see, if I don't have my pill on me or like Tums nearby, I'm like, it's not worth it. Like none of it'll be worth it. And then he's like, yeah, he goes, I mean, I don't know. It's pain. It's good. It's pain. It's horrible. And you just get through it. And I was like, that's the new tagline for the new record.
There you go.
And he was like, he's like, that would have been a good one. But it's
we all eat like fucking idiots in this band. So that's like our common denominator is indigestion.
Well, and I guess we can talk about this too from your perspective. How was it with the Kuma's burger? Like, Rick was like, it was great, but it's not great before you play a show because it just sits in your fucking belly.
Oh, dude, honestly, here's the thing. I'm the only one that finished the whole fucking thing. A. B, totally fine. Totally fine. There's only certain foods that will really set me off, and there was not enough cheese on that to matter, and I just maintained amount of marinara sauce. That's why I actually requested it on the side. It's like kind of like a Bay City thing because they deliver steak sandwiches here in Bay City where I'm from. So it's kind of like our take on a Bay City steak sandwich meets Kuma's. But anyway, there's a big thing to put it on the side because they would deliver to your house, and if it was on top, it would be a fucking mess. But yeah, it was delicious.
How did the burger come about?
Nick Miller, the guitar player from Fox's other band, the Before See Next Tuesday, Flesh and Blood Robot.
Flesh and Blood? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nick Miller was the guitar player. He's like the manager at that Kuma's or somebody high enough to where he controls what goes on social media and picks bands to do burgers. So he just reached out to us and was like, hey, I work at Kuma's. We do this thing where we do, burgers for bands. And they do it frequently. It's not like just an us thing. We're not like super cool. Yeah. We just happen to know somebody that does something really super cool. So anyway, but yeah, like you can go there and they have like the Pig Destroyer burger and like the Converge burger and stuff like that. It's pretty rad. So yeah, we got the burger. and instantly we knew it had to be something related to pizza because we're fucking savages. And then I kind of had the idea to mix it with the Bay City steak sandwich. So it's a take on the Bay City steak sandwich, which would traditionally be on like the large Italian bread. It's grilled. Sorry, my hands are.
No, you're good.
I don't know where my camera is. It doesn't. But yeah, and then a beef patty and marinara and mozzarella, and sometimes they put fucking mushrooms on it, which is gross. But you can get it with Italian sausage, which is super yummy. So then we just had the burger. They had their burger patty, and their bun was pretty specific. They didn't want to change that, but they were able to do the other stuff. And then we threw on pepperoni because it's close to pizza as it's gonna get. I mean, it has mozzarella cheese, Italian sausage, pepperoni on a beef patty. It was delicious.
It's always funny because I feel like obviously we've talked about pizza quite a bit, and it sounds like you have essentially done some of the same journey. Like, I was talking about how we got married in Vegas, and I was like, fuck it, I'm doing a wedding Vegas challenge, like pizza challenge. Like, I'm trying to eat as much pizza as I possibly can, like anywhere. And I at least usually went to two spots a day.
Nice.
Because most of them are just quick slices. And I mean, there were whatever, a lot of them. But I did find one, Evil Pie. It's like over in Old Vegas, like in the Old Vegas part. And it's like a punk rock bar, like that sells slices and all that. Nice. And it's like fucking sweet. But I mean, what do you like when you're looking for a good pizza? Where do you start? Is it like what starts the journey for you to like, okay, this is what like the first thing they got to get right?
Well, here's the thing: is I am unlike most people where I don't have a very specific thing. Like most people are like, I only like thin crust. I only like this. I'm an adventurer when it comes to pizza. I'm open-minded. Let's put it that way. When it comes to food in general, actually, I'm pretty much like I'll eat anything once unless it's like an alive tarantula. That's pretty good. But yeah, anyway, so my first thing that I always started with is I try to find out regionally what's specific. So like if I'm in New York, you got to find a piece, a slice of za. That's what you want is the flat New York brick oven style pizza. So, I would ask around and find the best of that. So same thing, you're in Chicago, you ask for where's the fucking disgusting doughy shit that you guys like, but I'm going to try it anyway because it's got to be best in Chicago if that's what they like. I don't care for that. But yeah, I live in Michigan, so, the Detroit deep dish is pretty well-known style of pizza. I don't know. Where are you from?
Originally from Delaware, but I live in Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids. That's what I thought. Okay. So you're familiar with Jet's Pizza.
Oh, yeah.
We know that it's deep fried pizza.
Yeah, it's not great.
You don't like it?
No.
Oh, man. No, it's delicious.
Like it's only a step up for me above Domino's. I think Domino's, great ideas, trash ass company for their food.
Here's the thing. I feel like a lot of people get really bad experiences at both those places because Jimmy, our drummer, and you can talk to him about it tomorrow, he fucking hates Domino's. And I'm going to tell you, Domino's is one of my favorite.
It's not for lack of trying.
Yeah, no, dude. And weirdly enough, I've had very good experience. I've had Domino's in Mexico City, and it was fucking like standing ovation good. But like the Domino's here kills it. And my Jets here, I can't eat it often because I literally almost die. But like, yeah, oh my God, it's literally deep fried. Like they fill an entire pan with oil, submerge the fucking dough in it to where it seeps onto the top of the dough. Then they put sauce on that and then toppings, and it's unreal good. But yeah, dude, like here's the problem I have is I smoke marijuana, and if I order a large, which is fucking 10 pieces of deep dish pizza, deep fried, like 9,000 calories, no matter how sick I get, I will just put the whole damn thing down. It's like crack cocaine, man. I'm just like Conehead style, just. And ask Jimmy tomorrow. Ask him about my pizza eating. Like he thought he ate pizza until he met me.
Like I was telling Rick, man, and I said earlier, tacos and pizza, like they're the two things that I just can't. Like I know where the limit should be. Like This will fill me up. I'll be
Mhm.
fine if I ate only this.
Yeah.
With tacos, like especially when we make them at home, I pretty much don't stop eating until the meat's gone.
Yeah.
Like, because then I'm like, oh, that's like, because it'll get to that point where I'm thinking about it. I'm like, maybe I should stop here. So I'll have some for lunch, but then I'll eat, same with pizza. Then I'll eat a couple bit more. And then I'm like, well, that's not really enough for lunch. So I should just keep eating it now.
Yeah, for sure.
Because then I'm going to probably throw away what's
Yeah,
the one slice, because that's not worth saving to me unless I get high and then go eat it later.
Yeah, that's the hardest part for me is like you order delivery, right? Because you're you're home from work and it's Saturday night and you don't want to go get it. So you order delivery, it gets there, and then you eat a little bit of it and you're like, I'm gonna put the rest I'm gonna leave it on the counter and I'm not gonna touch it and I'm gonna have it for tomorrow. And then you walk by that box and you're like, what's one more slice? And then like as long as you don't put it in the fucking fridge, it's free game. Even then, I'll put it in the fridge and sometimes I'll pop open the fridge and be like, all right, one more slice. Can't help it, dude. Pizza though. I'm I can control myself with tacos. I'm not gonna lie. I know my limit with tacos. As much as I love them, I feel like my other one where I like my eyes and my stomach do not align when it comes to sushi. Because dude, I'll eat so much fucking sushi and then all of a sudden it's like you're fucking full. And I'm like, oh God, I got all this raw fish in me. I don't know what it is about fucking sushi in particular, man. I put it, it's so good and they're tiny little bites, but you don't realize that it's a mouthful, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's almost like pizza rolls. You don't realize how many of those you're eating because they're just, or bagel bites, because it's like, oh, it's one.
Especially if you just slice the bag open, you're like, okay, I'm gonna make enough for the family.
Well, the bag was 200. Oh, whatever. That's how many we're eating.
There's 9 left. Where'd they go?
Kind of talking, maybe getting a little bit more serious than pizza rolls, but
oh sure.
So something that I kind of find interesting to talk about, because I think it shows, or can show, just an interesting way of how we grow and who we are, when we disassociate the thing that we are known for. So obviously, the band went on hiatus for a little while, and then so I'm kind of interested to see, who are you? How was the transition, I guess, from being more of a full-time band person and figuring it and kind of not being, Drew from See You Next Tuesday, or Drew from this band, or Drew from this whatever, and kind of having to acclimate to finding who you are as just Drew?
Like real life me?
Yeah.
Or like after post hiatus me?
All of it. I think those are all valid versions of you along the journey.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm still a nerd, hiatus was weird. A lot of shit happened in 15 years, Well, the band kind of just ceased to exist. We ran out of money. We ran out of gumption. We ran out of ideas. We started running out of bass players, and it is what it is. So it's not like we all left hard feelings. We just all left starting over kind of thing, except for Fox, because Fox did tattoos, and he now owns like a successful tattoo shop.
Yeah.
That he pioneered from our breakup. But yeah, no, I mean, I worked at Guitar Center. Yeah, that's what I did at first. I got a job at Guitar Center because I actually grew up in Bay City, Michigan, where I'm currently sitting. This small fucking town in the mid-Michigan. And I used to work at a mom and pop guitar shop here, so I was known for that. Actually, most people from my area don't know me as Drew from See You Next Tuesday. I actually bumped into this guy that I've played gigs with before locally. And he's recently seen all this stuff come up on Facebook and stuff with See You Next Tuesday. And he was like, man, I didn't even know you were in a band. I was like, yeah, we put 2 records out 15 years ago and stuff. And like toured and stuff. And, you know, like, he's an old musician that's been around town forever, and he's like, "Holy shit, you did really? I just knew you from Guitar Center." You know. So anyway, so I worked at Guitar Center. They knew me from just being a musician, not from Drew from See You Next Tuesday. I was just Drew. So it was actually pretty easy to find me because no one knew who the fuck I was. But yeah, so I'm good at sales. I don't know, I guess. So I did that for a while, and then I ran the store for a few years. Then I got fired because I was really over it and just wasn't giving a shit anymore. Then I became a mailman.
Oh.
Yeah. So I did that in 2016. And yeah, and then I delivered mail, and that's where I met my wife. And like, I think that's where like stuff started to like turn around for me, kind of stuff. Well, sort of.
In what capacity?
Well, just like, you know, my life existing as like this guy that runs Guitar Center that got fired and became a mailman and just works a shitload and stuff. You know, like I found this woman, and she lit up my life and stuff. Although we took a dark path and had our moments, we together found strength and got through it. And actually, that's why the record came out. So, but yeah, the record's called Distractions for a reason. It's my distraction from stuff. But anyway, yeah, so acclamation, mailman. Not to get all dark and weird on you, unless you're interested in that.
No.
I don't know what direction you
No,
want
I mean,
this to go.
No, I mean, that's honestly like all right. So let me share this with you because another podcast friend of mine and we talk all the time because we're more conversational based versus like, here's the interview. Let me ask you these 5 questions, whatever.
I noticed.
And it's this thing where he said something to me a while ago in the beginning of our, like the infancy of our friendship. And he was like, you know, a relationship is a give and take. Sometimes in order to get something from somebody, you need to give them more. And, you know, especially in a podcast thing where you're at times getting really like you're asking the other person to get really vulnerable and you're not offering any of it and not creating this safe space for them. Like it's really important to kind of do that because not only does it give you and the other person more of a rapport and kind of a foundation to explore those things with each other, but it also kind of allows the listener to maybe give themselves the permission to kind of start doing such things in their day-to-day life because they're hearing a person that they're interested in talk about it, let alone possibly too if they follow the host from that point forward. So, you know, something for me for a while was I'm very empathic as a person and I'm very inquisitive. And so a lot of times I feel like I will ask questions and I don't always think of really it being more than a question. And so at times I think it gets me in trouble or it makes people wonder like if there's ulterior motives to what I'm asking. And honestly, it's just because I have a very active mind that will come up with a lot of what ifs and a lot of possible scenarios and so forth. So much to the fact that it actually sort of was a detriment, I realized, to a lot of how I was living my life. And initially I went to therapy because I had someone reach out to me the day of the Capitol riots and say that they were going to commit suicide.
Wow.
And I remember I was supposed to record a podcast or intros and stuff with my old co-host at the time. And obviously the conversation I was having took precedence. And I just remember right around that same time, like I had lost my uncle and a really close friend of mine within a week of each other. Wow. And had to go back home to Delaware to go deal with the funeral. And there was just a lot of like drama and issues with all of that. And I remember sitting with my co-host and I just fucking broke down. I was like, dude, I just can't take any more of this shit. Like I can't be there for everyone when they need something. I was like, a friend of mine died. And I was like, I went to the funeral and instead of being able to grieve myself and process my own shit, I had to be that like support for somebody else and deal with their grief on top of everything else I just had. I go, when my uncle died, it was so much stress and drama of like, was the funeral going to be in Nashville? Is it going to be back home? Like, what days? Like I need to let work know. And then we need to get a dog sitter and we need there's an infinite thing of just bullshit.
Yep.
And finally, it's like you get there, the funeral's happening, and like the only real big thing I thought of was just that, like, in theory, when my grandfather and my grandmother pass away, like, I have no reason to go back home to where I grew up because all of my family will be dead. Secondly, then my other thought was the next two people, which were my parents, will presumably be the next two people to die that are in front of me. And then really, like, my ties to a lot of things are just gone because, like, I'm not going to have kids. And it just became this thing where I was kind of going through this and just kind of like, we don't have time as people to deal with our shit and to actually have time to grieve and experience and emotion in real time. And I go, and then I just fucking broke down and I was like, I need help, dude. Like, I just can't keep doing this. And I remember, like, I hit record to start our shit, and like, because of being in customer service and working in the doing this where you kind of put on a little bit of a showy voice, whatever, like, it fucking really bothered me that I could just shove that down and just be like, hi and welcome and da da da, whatever. That, like, the next day I looked for a therapist and I went and, we dealt with a lot of, like, the initial thing of, like, just being the emotional, like, I don't want to say punching bag, but just like taking on all this emotional drama and grief and all this kind of stuff I've dealt with. And, finding out that
therapy is useful. It is
100%.
It really is, man.
But the point of that was one of the other things that we addressed and that I really worked on was not giving my mind 7 different what if scenarios built off of one another, just kind of having the initial thought, finishing it, and then moving forward.
Right.
And so I think at times, the question of, like, explain more of, like, the album was distractions and obviously it was a distraction for something. But, like, to me, my mind now goes to obviously the distraction from whatever you were dealing with. But I would be more interested to hear you explain maybe not necessarily what caused these things, but more of how did it feel when you're making something out of this the thing that's making you seek out the distraction, and you realize that all of a sudden maybe it has more of a purpose than you even thought initially when it just was an outlet. All right, these are my high questions now.
Yeah, all right. Well, to not be so cryptic, I don't necessarily want to delve into the details, but my demon was drinking. And my wife was right there with me. COVID was a motherfucker. I was a mailman, and my wife didn't get to, but she was stuck at home, and I worked 70 hours a week, so it was tough, And in October of 2020, she found the strength to get help. What you did. I was so busy working and trying to just maintain. I was just so fucking far gone, And, but yeah, so that Christmas rolled around and I was still working a fuckload, and just the amount I was working was the kind of the start of my distraction finally. I quit drinking in October of 2020. I haven't had a drink since October 19th of 2020.
Congrats.
Thank you. And, I'm not ashamed to say that either. Some people are like, oh, that's intimate or whatever. I don't feel like that's intimate. Like, I wear that on my shoulder. I want people to know that I've battled that and won. Honestly, it wasn't my first time in my life either. See You Next Tuesday actually got me through it earlier in my 20s too. So weirdly enough, cunt is my lifeline. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. But yeah, to kind of go just a little bit back to where we were right before I started getting all dark. I mentioned this amazing woman that became my wife. I just want you to know that, like, during COVID, it wasn't anything between us. We never questioned us. It was just that we were the perfect pair of demons. With alcohol, right? And no, she's an amazing human being, and honestly, she's the one that empowered it, and she's the empowered to change. So I owe everything to her. But yeah, so that Christmas, basically, like I said, I owe everything to her. We talked about it, and financially, I decided I'm going to buy myself a nice guitar. Right? I deserve it. I have stuff still. I sold off all my See You Next Tuesday stuff when we first disbanded. I moved back in with my mom at 28 or 29 or whatever the fuck I was. I don't know. Yeah, so I sold all that stuff, and I had some stuff, like I still got some stuff. It's not like I didn't, but I wanted a really nice guitar, so I bought a PRS. My wife was like, fuck it, just do it. You deserve this. You worked so much. I'm like, okay, I bought a PRS guitar. And then I hemmed and hawed, and I finally was like, you know what? I should probably put it in drop A, because that's what I did in See You Next Tuesday. And then, then I started buying pedals and stuff. And I had gear, like some recording stuff. I've always been a nerd for recording and stuff. So I had like my room like soundproofed. You see like the stuff. That was actually all there when I moved in. Like I got this house and like made a studio just for like jamming and whatever, I'm an old man. I'm allowed to do that in my own home. You got it too. I can see it behind you. You got shit staged with lights and stuff. Looks good, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got our little man caves, and I bought my guitar and I started buying, pedals and stuff. And then, yeah, I just started dicking off and trying to find like the tone, it's like, what if I wrote more grindcore, blah, 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 blah. What would my guitar sound like? And so I started like just kind of shaping tone, and in the meantime I started writing a riff, and a riff became 2 or 3, and next thing you know, I had like a song, and it was in its infancy, so it sounded like shit. It was actually the track number 2 on the record. What a Funny Girl You Used to Be. You guys haven't heard it yet. You'll have to wait till the 17th. I've listened to it countless times because I'm an absolute nerd.
Yeah, this is the first time doing press basically for a record where I haven't gotten the record. So I can't even talk about it.
What? You didn't bug Alexa for it? She would have given it to you.
Well, sidetracking. I never got the email blast initially, which is weird because I'm on like so many that I figured I would have to have gotten yours eventually. And then that was why I reached out to Fox initially, because I was like, hey, are you guys just not doing press? Like, which I could totally understand, but yeah.
Email me right when we're done with this, and I'll forward it to her. At least you can have it for when you talk to Jimmy tomorrow.
Sure.
She has like one of those SoundCloud undownloadable
I know.
things.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, probably a Holox link.
Holox long. That's what they call it. I remember seeing it and like, all right, cool. So anyway, we're going on to where I figured it out. Where did my distractions start, right? So first it was just my lovely wife telling me to buy a guitar, and then so on and so forth. I wrote a song and I sent it off to the dudes. And at the time, Andy was still like part of the band. He's actually the one that lined up all that Wax Vessel stuff. So I mean, thank you, Andy, for that. But he was still, he was the last person to do something with us. Jimmy wasn't even like a thought yet, because this was January of 21 at this point. I'm a really slow writer, by the way. And again, this was it. I didn't know it was going to become an album for a while, like who knows? I could have taken 10 years to write this damn thing, at some point I got bored and decided to really move forward with it. But where am I getting at? I'm sidetracking now at this point. So yeah, I wrote the What a Funny Girl You Used to Be. Sent it off to the dudes, Andy, Rick, and Fox, and they're all like, oh, cool. And that was literally it. It was like, okay, well, it sounds like shit, so I get that. So I fucked with like my guitar tone and stuff, and in the midst of that, like literally it just started with me trying to find a sound, because that's important to me. Like the record has to have a sound. Like you have to put this record in and go, oh, is that See You Next Tuesday song? Because if it doesn't, it, like you mentioned the 5150 earlier. That's like one of my like one tones that I will never go for, because it's so widely used. With reason, it sounds wonderful. It's easy to mix. I get it. But I'm that person that I want something unique, So if I wrote another record at this point, it's gonna be for that, like I want a good sounding record.
Sidetrack to that for just a second. Were you?
I feel like you used to use Laney's back then because you, other than the dude from Him, no?
No, Rivera.
Rivera. Okay. I thought you had used
Yeah.
Laney's for some reason or had
Nope,
a Laney
it
cab.
was I used the Knucklehead 2, which was what Mick Thompson used from Slipknot, because Slipknot's fucking awesome.
100%. Yeah, I remember. I mainly remember that you played Robin guitars because I had never really
I had a
heard that
Robin.
brand.
Yep, I had a Robin and a Kramer and a PV Van.
But
yeah, so you know, I while I was making Guitar Tone, it was progressing me to play guitar more, and by playing guitar more, I started writing riffs, and next thing you know, I wrote This Happy Madness was the second song I finished writing, which that one you're going to hopefully see a music video for. I'll spoil that right now. It's supposed to come out the day of the record, but some logistics might have delayed that, but whatever. It is what
it'll
it
be
is.
out eventually.
It'll be out eventually, and you'll get to see it. And that's a really fun song that has a really fun story too. It's really sad you didn't get to hear this. I thought you got the copies, man. I'm sorry.
Nope. And I didn't want to be a dick and just be like, Fox, send me a link.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, I'll try to get it to you by tomorrow. It'll be nice to hear your opinion of it for sure.
Yeah.
If not, maybe later down the road you can, you know, put something out and be like, it does sound like shit, but Drew's a really nice guy. No, so I wrote This Happy Madness, which is going to be like, it's supposed to be our release day feature. You know, it's like the song we picked to have like everybody's focus on. And we're supposed to be doing a music video that's a collaboration of a bunch of live footage we gathered over the last few months of playing shows. We did like a house show for this benefit that was free.
Yeah.
And out in the Lincoln Park.
Yep.
But
you
yeah,
raised money for it, like almost $3,000.
No, it was only like $400, unfortunately. But
I thought I saw it. I thought it said 2,400 something.
Oh, that was for the wax vessel thing. That was another raffle. We did do two for the same organization. One we did the house show only made like $400, but I mean it was free entry with a tip or like a donation, because you can't charge people at a house show.
Yep.
You know, so it was like, it wasn't mandatory. It is what it is. We got as much as we could. They were thankful. The organization we donated to was one local here right in Tri-Cities. So anywho, so yeah, I guess that when I finished This Happy Madness, that was the second song. And I think I kind of found like my sound at that point. So I was able to produce a better product.
Mm-hmm.
And when I sent that off to the dude, so this was probably late February 21, to actually answer your question that you asked like 47 minutes ago or so. Yeah, late February-ish. I sent that off to the dudes and they're like, this song fucking rips. I'm like, oh, so this one's good and the other one was shitty. So I resent them that because I re-recorded it all and they're like, oh, this song rips too. And I'm like, yes. So yeah, that was about it. You know, it was just like a big trial and error. And then from there, like everybody was kind of geeked on it. You know, I'm a really weird writer. You know, I'm really good at writing alone. I'm really bad with writing with other people. Like Andy and I worked together for so long. And it wasn't until Intervals, when we were writing Intervals, that Andy and I actually like clicked enough to where his input was put into the music. And same with Travis. When we wrote Intervals was written as a band. And that was probably the only experience in my entire life writing music as a band with people. Because Parasite was pretty much me all by myself, and then I worked it out with members, you know, because I had to teach them. You know, I can't just be like, okay, guys, plug into my brain. You know, so like I heard an idea, I played them a riff, and I told them blast for this long and then choke. And then blast for this long and then do 2 chokes, you know, that type of stuff, you know. So it was just like, but yeah. So yeah, everybody kind of just went on with their lives and I kept writing in the background, you know. But like I had my life too, you know. I was, you know, I was not going out to the bar. You know what I mean? Like I was not going to the liquor store. I would, you know, go sit in my studio and play guitar, you know. And like I said, my wife and I both had our version of getting through it, and we did it pretty harmoniously. I feel like we both knew that we had to find our outlet too. It couldn't just be each other. You know what I mean? Like she got into photography and doing stained glass, and you know, she had her hobbies, and mine obviously was, it felt right, I guess, to just go right back into this. It just like right from the get-go, right in the first song, and you'll hear it. I kept it as the first song on the record. Actually, it's the second song, but the first song's like this weird intro thing. Man,
guess I mean, a couple of questions and come to mind, but I'll go with the one that seems like it's more on topic. How has the experience been for the both of you getting to work on, you know, you with the music, her with what would become the album artwork and so forth, and really just kind of marrying, no pun intended, marrying a lot of your creative outlets together for a kind of common end result?
Honestly, like we say that we're literally test tubes. Can I show you something? I don't know.
Sure.
Like you can censor this a little bit, but I'm going to show you a tattoo on my thigh.
Sure.
And it will need me to show my underwear a little.
That's fine.
I don't know your rules on the internet. You know what I mean?
It's the internet, man.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
That's my wife.
That's awesome.
See the little test tube? And she's a test tube baby. Or the test tube's down at the bottom. There it is. See, it's smoking.
Yeah.
So anyway, she's got me on her, which was done by the late and great Guillermo.
R.I.P.
He's you know him?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, awesome dude. Oh, man, can you believe it? I don't want to go down that road, but shit, that's sad. If anybody doesn't know Gary's stuff, check it out. RG Biv, man. Oh,
yeah.
Anywho, so yeah, we got tattoo. Mary was like within like 10 minutes of meeting each other. We not really, that's not true, but right off the bat, we're just like, man, it's crazy. I can't even describe it. Like, you know, like people talk about like the, you know, love at first sight thing. And like all of us are idiots because we're dudes, you know, like that's real for guys because you're like, yo, vagina, you know. And of course it was like that for me at first, but you know, within like moments, I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with this woman. So yeah, it wasn't weird. What was your question again? I'm sorry.
Well, no, just like what was it like working?
Yeah, no, it was
hand in hand with your wife basically on this project.
So we were in a band together once. You know, she sang, I played guitar. No, she's so artsy, and it's so amazing being married to her because of that. I thought it was perfect. She actually sings on the record. She has a vocal appearance. Her voice is recorded on the record on a sample that I curated. Yeah, man. I mean, she helped me out so much on the road, down the road, and just being supportive too. Like, but yeah, she did the cover art. She took the photo for the cover art. You knew that from our awesome posts about it. Yeah, I don't know. Does that answer the question? It was easy. It was like no different, you know, like I really did just luck out and marry like the perfect human being. That's basically the moral of the story.
Yeah, no, there aren't many things that my wife and I don't think like would ever work on something like that, where like the closest thing I've pitched to her a handful of times that we should do a podcast because like it's something I know how to do, and then it's time I get to spend with my wife, and then I think, I don't know, to me like I think we have a fun marriage because it's just like I'm funny. I know people think I'm funny.
Sure.
She doesn't. So it's just
my wife thinks I'm hilarious.
No, mine does not. Mine does not think of most of what I say to her. She does not find amusing, and everyone else always gets the laughs. Or there are times where she'll tell I always say that she tells stories horribly. It'll be like if the story is like A, B, C, D, like it has like layers to it or a progression. She'll be like, oh my God, last night was crazy. So we went to the bar and then this happened. And then it's like the person she's referencing wasn't even there, or like it doesn't show up until later or whatever. And I'm just like, you are horrible at storytelling. So she'll also try to tell like jokes about something or whatever. And I'm like, she'll be like, oh, John told this like joke, or
you're gonna
like
edit
trying
all
to
this
say,
out, aren't you?
No, not at all.
And it was one of those things where I'm like, you tell like my jokes horribly because like you just hurry up and get the punchline all wrong or like the setup all wrong. But it's I don't know. I feel like that would play really well. Like a lot of people would hear and be like, "Oh my god, that's so me and my wife," or "This is so this or whatever." Like, just I think couples things are always interesting in that way because you find yourself
you gotta at least,
things and
you should at least have her try it. Not that it should be. Here's the thing: is when Lauren and I, my wife is Lauren, when her and I did the gigging together, where she sang and we play guitar, I was also in a jazz trio. I was playing upright bass in a jazz trio. So I was doing that a few nights a week, and her and I played like once or twice a month kind of thing. And then I ended up parting ways with the trio. So her and I did like 2 months of like pretty solid amount of gigs because I knew everyone in town. So it was easy to just book a bunch of shit. And we did it for like 2 months, and she was like, "I'm burned out. I don't like this." You know what I mean? Like it was. So just forewarning you, if you make her do something, even if she has fun, enjoy it, but don't wear it out, man. Do it very sparsely. Even if she loves it and she's like, "Let's do that again," be sparse with it, because the moment you fall in love with it is the moment she's like, "Fuck it, I'm over it. I don't want to do it anymore." And you're like, "But I just like it. It was so much fun."
No, I mean, it's kind of funny because like it's interesting. Like I always joke that like she hates movies and I love movies, and like just a lot of things that I love. She's like, So, but I mean, it's funny because like we the things we meet in the middle on are just so interesting. Like, you know, again, we've kind of expanded each other's horizons on things like, you know, music and some movies and showing her stuff, and it's fun. Like I remember one day she was just like, "I want to go see that stupid Jurassic Park movie that just came out, like the first new one." I was like, I mean, I want to go, but like, I don't think you're gonna enjoy that at all. Fast forward, she's like, "Oh, I just want the popcorn and the shitty food," and so we went. And she was like, "I gotta go get a refill and go to the bathroom." And I was like, "Well, go now." And she goes, "No, I'm invested. Like the shark or the sharks, the fucking T-Rex is loose and all this kind of shit." And I was just like, "Yeah,
Make me do it."
Yeah, you're like, you thought this was gonna be stupid. Now here you are, like hooked on it. So sometimes it's fun to like do shit like that. Like, I don't know if you've been watching The Last of Us at all.
No.
Okay.
TV.
Right, fair enough. There was an episode last week that was like probably one of the best episodes of television I've ever watched, and like it was like something to where like I wanted to show my wife because it is such a like the show itself is only 3 episodes in. That was episode 3, you don't really have much backstory, and it really doesn't. You don't need to know any of it for this story. It's kind of a standalone episode, and so I was like kind of talking to her about it. I was like, "Do you want to watch it?" She was like, "No," and I was like, "Oh my god, though, like it was so great, and the performances, and like it's visually shot so well, and just like all this like nerdy stuff where I'm just like, this is why it's good." And no, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, I guess Lauren and I can be that way too. Like we can, you know, but I think everyone's entitled to have an opinion. You know what I mean? Like if she doesn't give a shit, she just, it is what it is. You know, my wife loves Taylor Swift. You know, it is what it is. Not my bag, you know. I mean, it's not, but you know, it's for 96% of the population. So
yeah, well, I mean, I mean, you're not going to cater to everybody. I mean, I think that's the other thing too is everybody in the day and age we live in now. It's like you can almost literally curate your world to be 100% of what you want it to be, and therefore, when you deal with something that is not what you like, that's why you flip out and you're like, oh, you know whatever.
I know my wife and I always talk about our internet. You know, because like our internet is tailor made for me. You know, if I'm flipping through my social media, you know, I'm gonna see ads for fucking modular synths because I really want to buy more. Right over there. I'm obsessed with them, and they're really expensive. So I research from a lot. Anywho,
I feel like I do that too. I'll overly search for shit where I'm like,
if I hem and haw about spending the money, bet your ass I'm gonna.
Well, I mean, sort of like kind of a topic that, you know, Fox and Rick and I have all talked about is just kind of as we're getting older. I mean, really, it just feels like we're just making the excuse to kind of either rebuy our youth or buy the shit that makes us happy, and finding the happiness in our day to day, because I think a lot of it is not fun and not positive.
I mean, that's like the one good thing about being an adult. It's like you get to spend your money on the shit that you want. You know what I mean? And like, I work fucking hard. I'm a mailman, dude. Like, it's terrible, but I make good money and I get to treat myself with stuff, you know, and that's the American dream, right?
Yeah.
Woo woo. But yeah, shit, yeah, I believe in that. You know what I mean? Like, if you work hard, you deserve something nice. It's plain and simple. Even if you don't have a lot of money. And that's the thing, is it's like, I'm not a rich man, you know, but I work hard for my money, and I provide for a family with it, and I can still expense stuff that you're surrounded by. You know, I can afford an SM7B because I know to not fuck around with anything else.
Right.
Today's Beer Minute is brought to you by Starving Artist Brewery, who share a simple belief you should judge beer and not people. Today's beer is from Dewclaw Brewing out of Baltimore, Maryland, and it's their Patriarchy Irish Cream Dessert Stout. Coming in at just under 9.5%, this stout really tastes like dessert in a can. The rich chocolate and caramel flavors really set the tone for this decadent beer, as those flavors usher in the smooth taste of whipped vanilla on the back end. Perfect balance of bitter and sweet. Thanks to Starving Artist Brewing, who remind you to support your starving artists, and please, always drink responsibly. And now, back to the show.
I mean, I guess that kind of really brings us to like now pretty perfectly. I mean, I think the common sentiment, I mean, you guys have said it quite a bit on various socials and so forth. And I mean, how has it been to be welcomed back so warmly? God, if I can get that word out.
Weird. I mean, flooring. Like, generally left speechless when I actually think about it. Like, when you ask me about it, I choke up and I'm like, oh God, there's people that like what I would fucking spit out of my brain. No, man, like, it's insane to me. It's insane to me. I guess I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, I'm thankful, obviously. I'm not trying to like disregard that. I'm just saying, like, overall, like, my reaction to it is jaw dropping. You know what I mean? Like, that's my reaction. It's just like that cartoon where it's like, blah, 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 blah. You know, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Rad of the Rabbit style. I'm getting dehydrated. Anyway, yeah, man, I don't know how to digest it. It's incredibly overwhelming in the most positive way possible, I guess. You know, not to have so many P's in a row, but I do have a screen thing. But yeah,
I think it's been, you know, kind of going back to what you were saying in the beginning of, you know, sort of what spurred the hiatus. You know, I think you guys, like, bands have been dealt shitty hands. Like, and, you know, I'm not going to undermine what I'm about to say by being like, oh, only certain bands get dealt really shitty hands. But like, I will say, when you guys put out the record, there was a lot of, because like I literally drove Fox to that CD release show in Detroit, and I remember him playing the record for me and just being like, wow, this is really pushing what you guys are doing. And I think it's probably gonna, yeah. And it's like, you guys are probably going to piss off the quote unquote core fan base, but I think those that understand like how much more interesting this will be than just how fast can you play blast, 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 grind, grind, grind. It's like, but actually kind of writing something to where when these pretty moments of songwriting and kind of give you that moment to kind of like really make full emotional kind of things where it's like, can't be all brutal all the time, because sometimes it's in that silence or that lack of brutalness where then you can come back even more. Like, I think that's what I like about horror movies sometimes, is like when someone takes their time, it's like, you're not only like fucking horrendously evil, but like you're giving someone a bit of reprieve from the horribleness that you're doing, knowing you're still going to kill them, just to dangle hope kind of in their face or whatever. And I feel like your guys' music on intervals was sort of akin to that, where it's like, to really appreciate the other parts of it that everyone loved, you got to show a different side of you and a different side of the band.
And
I wish more people had that sentiment for their record.
So I had actually told Fox, and he kind of laughed. But I think if you understand where I'm coming from with this comparison, it makes a lot of sense. At least it does to me. I think with where the new singles have gone so far for the new record and where Intervals left off, I think it kind of reminded me of Refused in Shape of Punk to Come. Everyone hated that record, and then basically the band broke up. Yeah, see, that was Fox's reaction, but
amazing.
But it's one of those things where, and exactly like when I first started, I was like, this is like one of the greatest records.
Dude, I remember seeing the premiere on MTV, dude. You probably did too. Yeah. Dude, I remember seeing that shit. It was like, why are they dressed like the Beatles? Oh fuck. You know what I mean? Like, I was listening to Slipknot and Korn and shit, and then Refuse came out, and you're like, what is this?
But the sad thing is like basically the band broke up just due to a multitude of reasons, as are well documented. And then basically when this record became the record we know it to be and how lauded it is, they weren't there to enjoy any of it. And then when they come back, they came back, did kind of the victory lap that they didn't get to take before. But then when they put out, their first new record, everyone's expecting it to be Shape of Punk to Come. And I remember when I had Dennis on, I was like, does it feel good to have that first record post Shape of Punk out so you can actually do something and people will probably give it a fair shake? And he was like, yeah, because like, I think
Are you saying that Parasite was our Shape of Punk to Come?
No, I think Intervals is just Shape of Punk to Come. It wasn't appreciated in the time. And then I think because you went away, people had time to really sit with it and learn how to grow with it, to where now I think there's a lot probably of expectations of where you're going to be and what the band is moving forward, because I think Intervals really pushed an interesting sonic journey for you to where you can explore more sonic territory.
I appreciate that. Like I said, the biggest thing about Intervals, I feel, was it was a group effort. Musically, that was, I think everybody still tipped their hat to My Brain. Like, it's Drew's project. Like, I said if a riff stayed or go, for the most part. It's not like it was a hierarchy or anything weird, but like they respected me in that way. Like it was, we're all equals kind of thing, but I don't know how to describe that without sounding like an asshole. But thank you, by the way, for all of that. It's weird to take compliments on that record at this point, because it's like, man, you're right. Like we put it out. We're in a really weird place with the bands we were touring with and trying to get on different stuff. We snagged that Hate Eternal European tour just after Intervals came out. And that was like, fuck yes, we're going to kickstart our career with like metal. Like Intervals was metal. It didn't have breakdowns. And and then we get back and we just kept getting offered these like high profile tours with bands, again, that it was like we felt like the odd man out on a lot of tours, because we were playing the stuff from Intervals when it was, we're put on tours where people were expecting the songs from Parasite, which we still, played because, we wanted to be able to continue doing it. So we had to put gas in our tanks. No, and I'm not saying it in a bitter way. I still love playing the Parasite songs. I'm not trying to be all like curmudgeon about it or anything like that. But, it is what it is. It was a product of the environment. If you go to our Spotify right now and look at bands that, like our fans of, it's all the bands that came up around our time, that we're all really good friends with, but all of which took different paths, like Arsonist came back with other records, and since then, and they're not the same band either, and I don't know if you heard Lesser Animal, Jason from Arsonist's other band. It's like this fucking thrashy grindcore stuff, man. It's sick. But like we change, we evolve, and I think here's the thing: is a lot of the Parasite stuff I had been writing for years.
Right.
I've been writing that stuff for a long time. Like 2006 is when I wrote Eight Dead and I Forgot the Fetus. And if you listen to Parasite and if you think about it in a time frame, songs like Paraphilia, Pagonotrophy, those were group efforts. We wrote those together, shortly before entering the studio. But then you go back to like the super wacky stuff. That was me sitting on a toilet fucking eating Doritos. And that's just how they came out of me. But yeah, no, I mean, like, so when intervals happened, it was a year. I don't process that way. You know what I mean? I don't just like write something and then send it off. You know what I mean? Like, the distractions. And that's the thing, dude. If I ever try to write another distractions, it's never going to be this because everybody's going to want it sooner than they expect it to be. But I mean, like, it took me 26 months or something stupid to write this damn record, and it's just my process isn't fast, and intervals was sped up, and I had the help of Andy and Travis and Fox. Like I said, it was a group effort. We went into the studio and some of it wasn't written. The ending to January and On, and like I believe Keys and Alpha and Omega. The filler track, Nascence, the first track, like none of that shit was written. We wrote that all in the 2 weeks we stayed at Full Force Studios, But yeah, I mean, like everything about that record, we recorded with Joe Sincata, who's the sound guy for Suffocation. We had it mastered by fucking the dude from Pig Destroyer. And just because I wanted it to sound the way it needed to sound. Like Intervals sounds pretty fucking sick, I think. Like we put it in the right hands of people to make it sound like a brutal fucking record.
Yeah.
Whether or not the songs are any good, that's for everyone else's opinion. But you can listen to that snare drum and go, man, that shit sounds fucking thick.
Yeah.
And like sonically, that record has everything that you'd expect from a fucking brutal record. But it just, I don't know. I'm not trying to sound bitter by any means, but I don't think, I think what you're saying is right. Like the group of fans that back then that would have supported us and kept us alive didn't give a shit about us because we used to be wacky. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah,
the people that like us being wacky. And that's where, like, fast forward 15 years, like that's where I think I finally figured it out with distractions, but I had a lot of time to really sit there and think about it, but like there's not wackiness to the degree of Parasite, because I'm not going to rewrite Parasite. I don't want to rewrite Parasite. I'm not 25 years old. I'm not unemployed. I didn't just sit around and play fucking guitar all day long. So it's like I had time to musically think about it. Like Why Can't You Behave? I feel like that song has some of the most musical stuff I've ever written.
Yeah.
What Revolver magazine said is alien-like sounds in the middle, that little tappy part.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do a playthrough video for that. It is coming, by the way. We live very far apart from each other. But yeah, I mean, like I hope that Intervals did settle with the people that it needed to, like Jimmy, to touch base on him real quick, we right before the record was done, I'm gonna tell a quick story. Mm-hmm. Or should I save it for Jimmy?
No, go ahead and say it, and then I can expound upon it tomorrow with him.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so real quick, months before everything happened, Andy, he gets a better job and stuff in his real life starts accelerating. And I totally understand his input, and I appreciate him coming to the table with honesty. But he just was like, dude, I don't have time to learn these songs. And so the one thing I can say about Andy is he's still a killer drummer, but he didn't stick with metal. he didn't stay playing blast beats all these years. You know, he continued playing the stuff he's passionate about, which is, you know, more power to him. Why wouldn't you? So for him, it was relearning the, you know, to play that style and stuff. And he's just like, I don't have time to commit to it, man. I'm sorry. I'm like, this is what it is. So I'll let you tell Jimmy, have you tell the rest of that story. But I don't even remember where I was going with this, man. I'm getting tired. It's past my bedtime.
No worries. I think then
I was
I'll
answering something. Oh, it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I think, you know, I feel like this is in a good spot to kind of start winding it down.
Okay.
Just because I feel like we kind of touched on, like, we're fun and had a lot of fun in the beginning talking about stuff that doesn't really matter. We kind of got a little bit more serious and delved into more things, and you know, I kind of think that it really showcases, and it's exactly what I wanted. You know, it's something that Fox had told me, actually. He was like, you know, everyone, because I said, you know, I wanted to do this thing where I wanted to talk to all of you, because I think it's interesting to be able to do something
tell
like
the same story different.
I mean, it's at times it's the same story, but I mean, how can it not be? Like, you're a band, you went through these things, these common and shared experiences to put out this
Odyssey
record.
of memory, man.
But the flip side of that is, and it's why I love podcasting, is because, and why I like podcasts about music, because to me, I can kind of talk to, like, I mean, Rick and I didn't really necessarily talk about much about the record, but I think because we just bullshitted and talked about things, like, you'll get to know Rick more. So maybe, you know, now people who are fans of the band and you know, whatever's going on, like, we'll get to know Rick. And, you know, I think I have this fascination with things a lot of times. Like, if you remember the band Wilson, they were from Lansing initially and then Detroit. Chae works at the Crowfoot. So for a while, they were known as a party band. And I saw, especially once the band became more of like touring around the US quite a bit, and then getting signed and actually touring for a while, putting out records and so forth. That I remember when I was writing for a local online zine here, I was like, oh, I can do a feature on the dudes because they're on a pretty big tour. And speaking of Guar, they were on the Guar tour that was coming through. And so I was like, you know, I want to talk to these guys and I want to paint a picture of them that's not what everyone else knows them as. Like, yes, they're fun and they do party and hang, but they're hardworking musicians who are making a go of it. And to me, that's a more interesting story than just they party, they all out drink you. Like, that's only so, there's only, like, I guess, like, you know, kiddie pool shallow. Like, I want to know more about the people that make the music. And honestly, when I listen to a lot of stories and people talking about the experiences of what it took to make this record, or what was the impetus for this record, or whatever, I think that when I go through and listen to the record, I'm able to hear more of the individuals that made it. And you're kind of able to extrapolate those things from it if you want to go on that journey. And not everyone does. I am one of those people, though.
Sure. I'm also a gear nerd and stuff, so I love talking about music.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm an awkward dude, so it's a comfort zone for sure.
Kind of last two questions I'll ask for you. Sure. I usually ask this in a completely different manner, and maybe you'll go the way the question is asked, or maybe you'll just go a completely different route with it, being more of a gear nerd or whatever. So, like, one of my podcast sponsors is Rockabilly, and they do band merch. Like, that's their whole thing, but it's band merch, not just t-shirts, but like
dude, I remember seeing them in the magazines growing up.
So the fun question I've been asking is, what is a favorite piece of merch that you had or have from and it could be band related, or honestly for you, it could be fun just to have you be like, oh, I had this piece of music gear or something that you were super excited about.
Well, I guess music gear is not merchandise, though, or like,
no. Well, I mean, unless you bought like someone's signature series, or whatever.
Yeah.
But as I say, I didn't really know you to collect band merch, so in my head, I wasn't sure if that was actually something that you did.
I don't really collect stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess my musical gear is, I don't know, man. I'm a weird dude. I don't really hold ties to stuff. Like, you're going to talk to Jimmy tomorrow and you're going to see like this stuff everywhere. Like, I don't even have our records, like Parasite, Intervals, none of that stuff. I was like, you know what? I'm never going to do anything with it. I'd rather a fan have it and enjoy it.
Fair enough.
I'm just, I don't know.
I mean, some people are like that. And that was why, like, I wasn't sure, like, and I was opening it to figuring maybe there was like that one piece of gear that you were like, I can't live without this.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't really. I buy and sell shit way too much. I'm an addict, man. You know, I've had the same pick for a really long time. Can I get that in the frame? A gravity pick. This isn't the one that I've had the longest, but I've been using the same pick exclusively for a really long time. If you want to try to get us an endorsement. I know that sounds lame. I don't know. I do remember rockabilly though. Sorry, I'm kind of like looking around and just thinking of stuff. Like,
no, it's fine. I mean, not like I said, not everyone.
I'm not really a person of
things.
stuff. Yeah, I'm obsessed with shit though. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I was talking earlier about modular synth. I don't know if you know what that is.
I know a little bit about synthesizers.
Yeah, so it's like the most expensive hobby you can have, except for collecting like sports cars.
Yeah,
like there are these tiny little modules that all encompass the different parts of a synthesizer, and you put them piece by piece together, and they're all like $300, and it's an absolute money pit. But I love it so much. But I own quite a bit of that stuff. But you know, like I'm already considering what I'm going to sell off of that to make space to put something different in. So it's like I'm not tied to anything in particular on it. But yeah, I mean, I use the Basalt Casper. It's called the Waver. I think it's called. It's a really cool little mixer thing. I don't know, man. That's the best I got.
Fair enough.
I play PRS guitars because they're really fancy, and I splurged on myself, and they're actually really lovely.
Maybe they should sponsor you to get into. I mean, I think outside of
that'd be cool. Should I show it? You want to see it?
Sure. I'll grab it. I think outside of Mark from Periphery, that's about as like the heaviest. I guess Cradle of Filth. They had Paul Allender used to play.
PRS. Yeah, he used to have one. Paul did, and his instead of the birds, he had
they had bats.
Yeah. Yeah. But I prefer the bolt-ons, so I stayed with the CE 24 because you gotta have 24 frets. You know. But this is my baby. I got an amber colored one that I recorded the record with. I actually got this one after the record when I was like, shit, if I'm gonna play out, I probably need 2 guitars because they're gonna break string because I'm a fucking idiot. Yeah, simple as that.
Last question for you. Where can everyone find you or whatever you would like to plug online?
Find what? I'm sorry.
Find you or whatever you would like to plug online.
Oh, can like my record? Can I do that one? Yeah. Is that important to me? That's important to me. My record is. Well, it's not just mine, but my band or the band that I'm in's. See you next Tuesday. We're on all social medias. You can probably Google us. See you next Tuesday. But Distractions is out 17th. This is going to air before that.
So the goal is, and since I have this whole week off, it shouldn't be hard, especially once I get tomorrow's done. But the goal is to drop like an episode, either the 4 days leading up to the record. So like there's one on like the last day, or go like every other day or something like that. But I'll probably just do like I guess it would be because records drop on Friday now. So yeah, so Friday, Thursday,
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
So probably Tuesday through, and just be like, okay, it's see you next Tuesday week, and just hear.
You don't want to do one the day of.
I guess not. I don't know.
Well,
I guess not. I could do it Thursday. So yeah, I guess Monday.
Well, I was going to say do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday type of situation. Anyway, so if it is airing afterwards, then yeah, later this week, February 17th, go download Distractions and on any streaming platform. I didn't rehearse this stuff. I'm sorry. We're everywhere, man. Instagram, and we have Facebook and FaceSpace and whatever. Yeah, I don't know, man. I got a Venmo.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you have a bad one people can donate to the record record cause?
No, just go buy something. Don't just give us money. We don't want handouts. We want you to represent us. So if you want to support us, buy something. Don't just give us money. But come to shows. Oh, we're playing some shows the week after the shows. We're doing 4 days in the East Coast with Bandit. If you're not familiar with Bandit, there's super nasty sound and 3-piece grindy madness from Philly area. But yeah, we're doing, let's see, we're playing the 23rd in Baltimore with another band called Under the Pier, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Maybe not. Maybe. If you're not, you should check them out. They're a Baltimore kind of mathy-ish I don't know. Think for fans of Wounded Touch, probably
Okay.
a decent enough comparison for a Michigan band. Yeah, great dudes. And then the next day we're gonna play St. Vitus with Bandit, and the banner is on that show, and that shit's gonna be fucking dumb.
I always wanted to go to, if I ever get down to New York, like Vitus is one of the few venues.
Yeah, dude, we never played there. I'm not sure if it was just not around or we just weren't cool enough, but I don't know the history there. I didn't look into it, but that show I'm looking forward to the most. I told myself that if we're gonna release it in a city that's not in Michigan, it's gonna be New York.
There you go.
Yeah, it's the coolest. It's a pretty neat city there. I got good pizza really is what it boils down to, my friend.
Haven't been to New York proper. I've been to Long Island, been to Brooklyn.
Brooklyn's pretty popular. I mean,
somewhere else I don't remember one of the other places we went to.
It's a borough.
It's a borough. I think we went to 3 of the 5.
Yeah, I think I've been to them all. I don't know. We've played in Manhattan.
You get a William Cutting pin if you go to all 5 in one day.
Ooh.
I'm just kidding.
I don't think I've wait. I don't know, man. I don't got a memory. We talked about the fact that I drank too much, so
happens.
Let's not judge my memory.
Well, thank you for taking the time to chat, and
for sure, dude.
Very much was looking forward to this and talking to all of you, and very much looking forward to getting this out to everybody, and hopefully they enjoyed as much as I think everyone and I have had so far.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate this opportunity. I'm again, to kind of preface the question you had about earlier about support. I mean, it's still just, it blows my mind. So thank you for even giving a flying fuck about us. Like it's weird, being the person. I mean, like not a lot of people think about. I know you're trying to go. Not a lot of people think about what it's like to put out a record 15 years after a record that didn't do good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you think about it, like I put out we put out Parasite and people really liked it. And if I would have put it out a second time, we could have been more popular. Who knows? I don't know. But that's just not where we were. We didn't want to be that. We had a different sound in our head and we tried it out and people didn't care for it. And that's fine. But 15 years later, we're going to do it again. And for those that haven't thought about it, it's fucking terrifying. So thank you for giving a shit about us, because it's overwhelmingly amazing to have that support. And I don't know how else to describe that. But thank you.
I think it's the perfect way to do it. Thank you again for your time, and enjoy the rest of your evening, and enjoy some pizza and some time with your wife.
Hell yeah. Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
But
So going to do something a little different in this outro. I had initially recorded an intro for this episode, and when I started doing it, I realized that it was really more befitting of an outro and more of kind of talking about kind of the aftermath of the chat that we had. And so this is actually how I was going to start the episode, but I thought it was more fitting to make this the outro. This was a really fun chat with Drew. Like I had said in the Rick episode and kind of prefaced in the Fox episode, getting to talk to everyone in the band, especially people that I didn't really know and have never really talked to, was just a really interesting idea. And Drew was really kind of the impetus for it, really, with the idea of talking to the whole band, because he's someone that I feel like is very... and it's always fun kind of trying to come up with the words, because sometimes I feel like the words that I'm going to use are sort of either like can be looked at as like a condescending term or something, and I definitely don't mean it that way, but I feel like Drew is one of those people where I know he's kind of the brains behind See You Next Tuesday as far as the arrangement and songwriting and so forth, and a lot of the things go through him. But ultimately, I just don't feel like he does a lot of press. I don't really know much about him. I knew he worked at Guitar Center as a manager, and beyond that, I didn't really know much about him, and I still, don't over the years of the band not really being around. And it's one of those where I feel like there's something in there that the quiet genius of sorts, where it's like, okay, what do you think of? How do you come up with these things? Where are the inspirations for these songs coming from, and all that kind of stuff? And honestly, it was kind of, like I said, the impetus for doing this project of talking to everyone individually, but more so it's also the impetus for really just wanting to explore this concept that I figured the members of the band are probably known for their wacky song titles and just being all over the place and being funny and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to showcase a more serious side of the band. And I had done that with the guys in Wilson years ago, doing a written feature about the band when they were on their come up. You'll hear me talk about it a little bit in this chat with Drew toward the end, but it was one of those where, like, I love kind of flipping the narrative of what everyone assumes the band is or the people in the band are, because I don't think you can do anything in a professional sense if you are just not taking it seriously, unless the goal is to be funny and to quote unquote not take it seriously. And I still think even then you have to have a drive. You have to do something where it is serious. You have to sit down and do it and take it seriously, even if it is a joke. Like, I mean, for as much as you look at something like Attila, or you look at something like Bill Murray, or you look at a lot of these bands, or Steel Panther even, where it's a quote unquote joke, I still feel like there's so much care paid to the actual writing of the music and the presentation of everything that yes, it's a parody, yes, it's a joke, yes, it's meant to have fun, but there's so much seriousness in there, and there's so much thought that goes into it that I feel like it's such a cheapening way to just dumb something down to be like, oh, they're the funny grindcore band, or they're this or they're that. And honestly, like, I can't stress this enough. When what Intervals did for this band, I do honestly, and this will be the second time I make the correlation between Refused with Shape of Punk to Come, coming off of Fan the Flames of Discontent, into the band's first post Shape of Punk to Come release. Like, the expectations that are just on it, how everyone was able to grow with Shape of Punk, and it became this landmark record. Now, I'm not saying Intervals is Shape of Punk to Come. I am saying that it is See You Next Tuesday's Shape of Punk to Come. It was out of left field. People didn't know how to react to it. Now they've had over a decade plus to get used to the songs, and now I think they're actually finally getting the adulation that they should have gotten when the record came out. And I think it's now in this space of time between releases where I think the fandom of the band is bigger than it's ever been. I think the expectations of what the band could be moving forward and with the singles that have been released really has people excited to see where this band is continuing from Intervals into what is now Distractions. And getting to talk to Drew about the impetus of why the music started being created was really interesting, and we kind of went into some really, really deep moments on this, and I'm really proud of Drew kind of seemingly stepping out of his own comfort zones to have this conversation with me. I know it's hard to talk to a stranger essentially about real life shit and know that it's going to go out to countless people on the internet, and that you could be judged for the things you say or went through. And I just want to say I really commend Drew for going on this journey with me and being willing to do it. I think, like I've said in each episode so far, I think it's when you hear this, especially this episode with Drew, I think it's when you hear this and you finally get to hear the record in a couple of days, you're going to feel all of this that was the reason all of this music had to come out of everybody. You're going to feel it. And I hope that it makes you feel something when you hear it, because it definitely evokes reactions, visceral, emotional. It makes you feel. And I'm very excited to help these guys bring out a different side of themselves in explaining their music. All of that said, if you'd like to keep up with See You Next Tuesday, you still have time to pre-order the new record. You can go to seeyouNextTuesday.fffm.to/distractions. You can still pre-order the record. Again, it comes out this Friday in 2 days as of when you're listening to this. If you'd like to keep up with the band, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram at See You Next Tuesday Grind. And as much as I tried to find Drew on Instagram or anything, I honestly couldn't. But as I had said, most of the band isn't really super active on socials anyway, so is just, follow the band page. That's honestly probably why you're listening to this. That's probably how you know about the album. You follow them on their socials, you'll get all the information related to the band as much as you want. If you'd like to keep up with the podcast, simple enough, Bruce Speak Pod on all your socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can email me at brutallyspeaking@gmail.com. I usually try to reply to those as quickly as I can. Same with DMs. Rate, review, subscribe. All the things that everyone always says. Do those if you can, if you want. And for the Brutally Speaking podcast, I am John, and I will talk to you all tomorrow, where we conclude our countdown to distractions. It is last but not least my chat with Jimmy Watson, drummer for See You Next Tuesday. I will talk to you all tomorrow. Have a good day.